episode 5 of Carbs and Cars. Adrian Sarkis, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
Adrian, you have quite a rich history in racing. Tell us a bit about yourself, about your history in racing, and about this beast that we have behind us, your Honda S2000.
All 4 cylinders of it, absolutely.
All of
it. So history in terms of racing is quite short actually compared to some other people. Started quite late. I was about 21 when I first stepped into any sort of race car or go-kart.
Yep.
So I've been doing it for about 6 years now. When I started, I thought, well, I've done a lot of sim racing. I've practiced over and over again. I'm pretty quick on the sim. It doesn't really translate well to real life, but I'll give it a shot. And I got an experience day given to me for my 21st. This was like a Formula Ford, come and drive, come and try it out, see how you go. And I went there just to see if I could do it, for real.
Yeah.
And I went there, did my 10 laps, realized straight away that all the sim practice I'd done, for the last couple of years had paid off. And set some pretty decent and consistent laps. Got a call from the team owner, saying, "Oh, would you be interested in maybe, running the car, joining the team sort of thing." Unfortunately, I couldn't afford it. So, as a lot of people might expect, racing's really expensive. At that point, couldn't really afford to do anything. But I got offered a go-kart to lease. So I thought, that's a good stepping stone. We'll try that out. So for a lot of people, go-karts are just those, dinky little high karts that you get at Eastern Creek.
Yeah.
Or, Moore Park or wherever you want to say. They're not very fast, but these ones, I think I drove one for 10 minutes in my first race and my arms were done.
Really?
Completely dead. Not even, high karts were bad. I know if you're not used to them, you can be very sore. Yeah. This was within, actually it wasn't even 10 minutes, it was less than that. I think because the races were only 10 laps. So I was done, but I was hooked. I was fast. I actually won my first race.
Wow.
So
very good start.
It was a very good start, but we're going to just gloss over the fact that there was only 2 people in the race. But a win is a win, right?
A win's a win. Doesn't matter how far, how close it is. That's very good.
Absolutely.
And okay, so before we go sort of deep into your history of racing, tell me about your car.
This car behind me is a Honda S2000.
Cool.
And I would say it's been my dream car. I think when we were working as apprentices at Audi, I think I couldn't stop talking about them, I would say.
Yeah, the whole time.
Yeah, just for the viewers, I think we were in the same class.
It's probably a good place to start. We did our apprenticeship at Audi. They have a private college called Vantage. Where was it? It was
Lidcombe, I think it was, yeah.
And we met there, and then you left.
Yes.
Audi, and went where?
So left Audi, went to go, at a friend's advice, go work for Alfa Maserati. Mostly doing the Alphas. Yep. Didn't go so well.
Yeah, they suck, so fair enough.
If you want to say it that way. Yeah, I mean, from my perspective. Ended up thinking to myself, well, let's try something else. Yeah. Kept the mechanics side of things as more of a hobby. Went into finance instead.
Did you finish your apprenticeship?
No, I actually never did. I got halfway through my second year.
Oh, wow.
Which I thought was enough to, take my learning further outside of that if I wanted to. So, since I've left, I've been able to, I've done gearbox swaps on this, everything you could think of except actually, opening the engine up and working on it. I've done. When I wrote off my red version of this,
so this is your second?
This is my second S2000.
Okay.
Dream car, you got to have another one.
You have to, yeah.
I was a bit of an idiot back in the day. I think we all were. Still hurts, to be honest, but that red car, I've gone over every single part of it. It got parted out completely. I think bare shell it ended up being towards the end. So I'm very well versed with what these cars are all about.
So when did you start at Alfa?
Ooh, that's a very good question, actually. I think it was 2016.
Okay.
I think. Oh, it's so long ago now.
And how long were you there for?
Probably just under 6 months.
Okay. And then you went into finance?
And then I went into finance,
And at what point did you get your first S2000?
First S2000 was actually 2 months into Audi when I joined up.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, being a young 18-year-old with not much concept of money and all that, you go, well, I want my dream car.
Yeah,
you make it happen.
Yeah. I did the same. I bought an S3, and
I remember that S3.
that was great.
Yeah, it wasn't yellow, was it?
No, black.
It was black.
Black on black, manual 2-door.
Manual 2-door. Yeah,
that was an excellent car.
It was excellent. It was very clean.
It was very clean. We did track day at Wakefield together.
That's right. Yeah, that's.
Did you have this?
No, I had the red one.
You had the red one. Yeah. But you had an S2000. Yeah.
I had an S2000, which we brought to the track. I remember that track day. Actually, just wanted to like get some mates together, book out the track, do it my way. Yeah. You know, I think everyone had a great time.
Oh, that was a great track day.
Yeah.
The one thing I do remember was as soon as it started raining, I remember everyone left the track. Everyone went off, and I was like, I've got Quattro. I'm not going anywhere. And I had the whole track to myself for like maybe 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It was excellent. That was a great day.
Well, I was also on the track.
Oh,
I just thought, well, it's rain. That's a good chance to hone your skills, sort of thing.
Exactly, 100%.
So,
okay, so how did you write it off?
I think it's been long enough now that I can say what I was doing without getting in trouble.
If you're comfortable.
If I'm comfortable. It was a night at a road called the Old Pacific Highway.
Okay.
And some people might know it as a bit of a hot spot for racing, and you know, point to point, you know, some people had walkie-talkies and everything. They would like almost shut down the road at 1 o'clock in the morning. And
allegedly,
yeah, I wouldn't know anything about it, but I was up there, sort of shaking the car down for a track day, and I had these tires on, which I hadn't run before, and they took a lot of effort to sort of put some temperature into them, especially on the road.
Semi-slicks?
They were semi-slicks, race semi-slicks.
Yep.
If it wasn't for the 2 grooves cut through the center, like around like that, they would be full-on slicks.
Okay, yeah.
So not the smartest move from my part. It's a peep later. It's dumb. And I remember getting out of the car, having a nap while waiting for someone else to rock up later on. And I woke up to them going past, and I thought, I'll go have a go with them. Got in the car and just took off straight away, not even letting the tires warm up or anything like that. So they were stone cold, middle of winter, probably close to like 1 or 2 degrees. And went through a corner, lost the back end, and spun it quite hard into a wall.
Oh shit! Were you injured?
I think I needed a couple of stitches in my head.
Okay.
Wow. But I was very lucky to escape. Very safe car.
Good.
I'll give Honda that. They know how to build a car. But yeah, that was sort of a turning point where I went, well, what am I doing on the road? This is a bit stupid.
Yeah. So get another one.
Of course. Yeah. But never really did that sort of thing to that level again, and just thought I'll do racing instead.
Yeah.
On the track, keep it on the track, and I'm really glad I did that. Actually,
have you tracked this?
Oh yeah, a couple of times actually. Took it to Wakefield, probably a month after I bought it.
Okay.
Had some DBA brake discs on them. They were drilled, which on a track is a no-no.
Yeah.
If they're drilled. After about maybe 2 sessions, I came back in and there was just a crack, like straight through the middle.
Wow.
Completely through the brake disc in the front. So I remember driving back just using the handbrake because I didn't want to use the front brakes
of course,
at all.
Yeah.
So I got home, got rid of them, put some proper ones on, went back. Did what I thought was actually a pretty decent time, considering I think this has got coilovers, some MCA reds, intake, exhaust. That doesn't do anything for an NA car.
Yeah.
And just some brake pads really. And it did at the time was pretty damn quick. I think it was before they resurfaced or put some curbs in at Wakefield. I did a 108 flat in this, which I think, what do my Formula Fords do these days? 101s, 102s.
Yeah, wow, that's excellent.
Yeah,
so okay, so back to racing.
Yes.
So your racing career. So you started off go-karting.
Yep.
And then how did you get into racing?
Into like just full stop
into
racing.
Like competing,
Competing.
Yeah. And sorry, before you start,
got to try one of these.
Let's get into this.
All right, that's a good idea. It's just sitting there,
straight in the eye.
Right,
I'll let you do the honors of ripping it up. So the podcast is Carbs and Cars. Carbs are not carburetors, as in actual carbs.
Yeah.
And today we have this is a place called Kurtosh. There used to be one around the corner from the workshop, just here in Darlinghurst, and it closed. And then after work today, I was looking at stuff on Uber Eats to to order, and it popped up, and I thought, you know what? Let's get into it.
Give it a go.
Yeah. And I ordered 2 of these. One Nutella, which I think this is what that is. Yeah, there's Nutella in there. And the second one was a Biscoff one, and that didn't arrive. We got this, and I have no idea what that is.
Looks pretty good.
It looks good though. I don't know how we're gonna eat it, but we have forks. But
Yeah.
we'll work it out.
If that's any indication of this, it's pretty damn good.
It's excellent. And then we have 2 teas. And that's Kurtosh.
Kurtosh with the K. Big fan.
Good.
Yeah.
So am I. That's excellent.
A lot of carbs.
Yeah. It's good though.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I find every episode, I don't know if you've listened, but it's always crispy stuff.
Oh, so the mic
It really comes through, yeah. But
I think we're okay.
it just is what it is. Yeah. This is actually probably the least crispy item we've had on the show.
So no ASMR
No.
sounds for the viewers.
Okay. So racing.
Which part do you want to know about?
Everything. The whole story.
Everything, the whole story?
Yeah. The whole 6 years.
Man, we're going to be here for like, what, 2 hours?
Great.
Great. I'll try and keep it short, but in essence, my racing career has been, I guess, done on the bare minimum you could possibly think in terms of like budget, money, anything you could think of. I think I'll give an example. The Formula Ford series I compete in the Duratec series. So you got Kents and Duratec's. The Kent cars are sort of like the old school, I think it's a Ford Escort motor. So carbureted, very, very old school. Requires a lot of work actually to keep them running.
Yeah.
I've personally seen in the couple of years that I've done it, I think probably 3 or 4 engine blow-ups.
Wow.
Versus maybe 1 in the Duratec series.
Wow.
And me personally with my engine, they go forever. I think before I got my hands on it, the last time my engine had been rebuilt was probably 10 years before I purchased it.
Wow.
Which, speaking to the engine builder, is unheard of. But apart from being a little bit down on power, it was just rock solid reliable. So, yeah. Sorry, excuse me.
No.
These are very good.
Yeah, they're very good.
So yeah, from a budget perspective, I think the Duratec series, which is a Ford Fiesta motor, some of the teams will be asking easy 6 figures to run it just for a season.
Wow.
So that's leasing the car. They look after it, set it up for you, but 6 figures is a hefty amount of money. I don't know.
Very hefty.
Yeah, I don't know many people myself that could afford that.
Not a way.
I don't think actually in the 6 years I've been racing, I've actually even spent 6 figures on it. So
wow.
Yeah, we're as close to shoestring as you could possibly get. So we've done that, but we've still done some pretty spectacular things, I would have to say, based on what we're putting into the sport. So we'll start with, I think, XLs, which is what I jumped out of.
And what is that?
So Hyundai XLs, it's a one-make series. Fairly loose regulations. You're allowed to adjust different kinds of suspension at the time. I think now it's controlled suspension. And yeah, you could do a few things. You could put like a Hyundai Elantra like hubs and things on it. Do a couple of tweaks here and there. When I joined, it was quite cheap. I think I bought my car for $8,500, which for a Hyundai XL is pretty insane when you think about it. But for a race car, it's as cheap as it really gets.
Yeah.
When I left the sport, when I left the XL series to go do Formula Fords, I think some cars were selling, 30,000 plus.
Built already?
Yeah, built already. They've been raced a little bit, but yeah, 30,000. So
wow. Wow, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. So.
And what sort of power do these cars have?
Power. Not a lot. You'd be lucky if you were making 90 horsepower.
Wow.
At the wheels.
Okay.
In those cars.
And what's the limit?
The limit? There is no real limit. It's only as much as you can get out of them within the regulations they set. So I think you're allowed to port the heads or do some. You have to do some light engine work to them. I think,
all naturally aspirated?
Yeah, no turbos. Naturally aspirated. Control tire as well. I think at the time they were running a Federal RSR, very cheap tire. I loved it. You could do almost a whole season on a set.
Wow.
So it was really good, actually. They would get better the more you race them as you wore the tread down.
Yeah. Okay. And how many races? How many races are in a series? In a season?
You know, it's funny. I never actually did a full season of XL racing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was only the races I could afford. I think there were 8.
Okay.
8 rounds in a season. Don't quote me on that one though. But I think I bought one set of tires, one set of new tires the whole time I raced. Maybe I bought a set in my last race because it was going to rain. Because you want obviously as much tread as you can possibly get.
Yeah. And how long are the races?
15 to 20 minutes.
Okay.
Nice, short and sweet.
And whereabouts?
So for the New South Wales series, it was Eastern Creek and Wakefield down in Goulburn.
Yeah.
So, you know, just flick between the two. A few enduros were thrown into the mix. So they were about an hour long.
Okay.
And I think in that series alone, I think we punched well above our weight. And by we, I mean, I think it was just me at the time, just running the car on my own. I'm starting to remember exactly what I went through during that time. I was at the time working part-time in finance, living in Bathurst, so it was a lot cheaper than living here, but it was still not enough. I ended up having to sleep at a fire station depot right outside Wakefield in my ute that I had at the time, just to save some money. I would skip breakfast and lunch. Oh wow! It was that dire, and if the car had a reliability problem that I couldn't fix, I would just be like, "Well, that's it. I've got to go home. That's it. We're done." Yeah. So it was like the tightest of tight budgets in XLs. But despite that, I think I got a couple of top 10s out of almost a 30 car field. In my first season doing it, which I thought was really good, considering that I was essentially starving myself before going into a race. So, did that, just built up my circuit knowledge, skills, racecraft. And then COVID hit. And that was around the time where I thought, well, I'm going to have a go at doing Formula Ford. I always wanted to race open wheelers, followed F1, love those sort of race cars. And, as you know, COVID, quite a bad time. For me, I know it sounds terrible, but it was probably the biggest blessing in disguise I got in racing, because I was planning on racing for that same team that I drove for in that Formula Ford experience. Okay. I even signed a sort of like a pre-contract. Yeah. I was paying little bits and pieces to sort of, get towards the first round when everything eventually opened back up. And a guy who had been racing in the Duratec series for years, very well known in Formula Ford. His name's Daniel Holohan, and he was selling his Duratec. Wow. And he was selling it for roughly the same price it was going to cost me to run a whole season of Kent's. And during COVID, I had time to think about, what I wanted to do, and I saw the car pop up and I went, why am I not just buying the car? Yeah. Run it on my own, have an asset, when I'm done. So sort of teed it up with him, broke the contract, got the car. Yeah.
Were there any implications to breaking that contract?
There was, I think it was a couple of thousand, like non-refundable. There was no real implications. Yeah. I didn't really make many friends doing that. But for me at the time, I really didn't care. I had my own race car. Yeah. The XL was cool. I could say I owned a race car, but this was like an open wheeler. Yeah. Yeah. And it was real, and it was, proper. It wasn't just a budget XL race car. Yeah. So, I just, at that point in time, I didn't care about anything else. I just wanted to race it. So I prepared it. I did one test day, which was very promising. I think in the first test day I did, I was pretty much bang on the pace with the national times that those cars were doing.
Sorry, with this vehicle, how old was this vehicle? How many races had it done? Okay. Miles, hours,
Yeah, not entirely sure on the exact races or miles. I know it's a 2009 Megane. Model is SJ09. It's got some updated body panels from the SJ10, so the 2010 model. If I had to put a number on the number of races, probably about 30 or so. Okay. It's been around. I think it was originally owned by a Queenslander. And he raced it at Albert Park, which would have been amazing. During like an F1 as a support race. Yeah. I can see it all in the logbook. It's really cool to see. And then, yeah, I think throughout that whole time, it never had an engine rebuild. And from what I've just found out this year with the shocks, I don't think the suspension was rebuilt either.
Wow. Do you still have the vehicle?
I've still got it now, yeah.
Cool.
So I'm actually planning on racing it again this year.
Okay.
As I'm just moving through the years of racing, so I'll touch a little bit more on what I found out with this car and all that stuff. It's pretty crazy for me. But yeah, so it's done. Yeah, I would say about 30 races. Very capable car. They weigh, with the driver, 510 kilos.
Wow.
So incredibly light. Yeah. Just trying to think what else there is.
And what sort of power are you getting on this sort of vehicle?
Power. Okay, yep. So from the Ford Fiesta motor, makes 135 horsepower.
Yep. At
the wheels. Torque, I'm not entirely sure. It's in the mid 100s, maybe 150 foot-pound. But because it's so light, the power to weight ratio is just incredible.
I'm sure,
yeah. I think you can compare it to a modern Porsche GT3.
Wow.
Not the RS, but a GT3.
Yeah.
Around the track, it pulls comparable lap times. What else is there? There's the V8 supercars, for example, at Eastern Creek. They'll do at least the previous gen, they were doing like a 130, 131. Maybe some were dipping into the 129s. In terms of lap times, and the Formula Fords, the fastest I've seen them go is a 133.
Wow.
So
it's somewhat comparable.
Yeah, it's a few seconds off, but considering, what they do, like the power they're making versus...
of course. And the cost as well.
And the cost, yeah.
So what are how much do they cost?
So they can range anywhere between 40 to over 100,000, depending on which one you've got.
Okay.
Obviously, the more modern you go, the more expensive it's going to be. So.
And what does a brand new one cost?
Brand new one to build. I think you have to order them from France.
Okay.
Maybe 140, 150,000.
Okay, wow.
I'm not entirely sure because it's never something I've needed to know. I don't think I'm ever going to buy a brand new one. But yeah, they're very expensive. I think there was a championship winning one that was sold recently, or not championship, it would have been top 3 finishing car. Sold for maybe 70 to 75.
Wow. With
a bunch of spares.
Yeah.
I personally bought mine for 45.
Okay.
One of the cheapest ones on the market at the time.
Did you have to do anything to it?
At first, no. The plan was to just develop my driving. But after a while, it became apparent, I'm driving this thing quite well. I'm consistent. I've got the technique down on how to drive them, which the technique to driving a Formula Ford, it's... you've essentially got to break the rear loose at every corner. You have to steer the car with the rear. Okay. And you point it out of the corner and you just basically plant your foot down and let the rear squat and grip up and go. It's very hard to get your head around if you just drive a normal car, XLs or otherwise. You have to be almost at the point of crashing or losing control to get the most out of these cars.
Have you crashed?
In the Formula Ford once, battle for the lead, got crossed up making a move around the outside of 3rd place. 2nd place at the time was we're racing this close on the track, almost interlocking wheels. 2nd was trying to make a move on first shut the door, 2nd backed out of it. I'm this far away from his rear bumper, or whatever would be a rear bumper in these cars. Couldn't slam the brakes on in time. I'm focusing on the 3rd place, on the left-hand side to me. I end up ramping over the back of him.
Oh, wow.
Initially, it was okay. He sort of came into a bit of a spin, half spin, didn't get on the brakes, rolled across the track. I'm still trying to recover from the initial launch. And then I ramp over him a 2nd time, and that's what bent all my wishbones in the front.
Wow.
So,
and how was his car?
His car, he had a puncture. I think he finished the race though, actually.
Oh wow, that's pretty good.
Unfortunately, I feel really bad, but I ended his championship essentially. With what happened. Went up to the stewards, complete racing incident. If anything, they said, "Oh, he's braking a little bit hard there," but I think that's because 1st place kind of shut the door, and it was a in the moment sort of thing. So. Yeah, I don't blame him. I hope he doesn't blame me. It's just a heated moment. But my car was quite damaged.
And what was the recovery time from a car point of view? after that?
Well, that was the second race, which was done on the Sunday.
Okay.
There was one more race after that. We'd never been in an accident. We'd never had the car apart. So even if we could get the parts, we didn't really know how to replace the parts in time for race 3.
And who's we? Do you have a team with you? Do you have support?
Yeah, so that at the time it was my dad and one of my friends that I went to school with, who also was part of the Vantage Automotive apprenticeship program, but for Volkswagen. So his name's Chris, and he spanners on the car and, you know, helps me out. And it's just like a little, you know, 3-person team almost. So we were all there and we thought, well, yeah, we can't really get this out in time. I think the turnaround between race 2 and 3 was maybe an hour, 2 hours.
Oh, wow. Okay. Did you have any spares with you at all?
No.
And could you get spares?
We could have gotten spares from, I think someone had some new wishbones. Too expensive though. I think each wishbone was $1,000.
Wow.
And we needed 3.
Okay.
So yeah, an upper wishbone on the left-hand side and upper and lower on the right-hand side.
And same costing if you're not at the race, or is that because someone has them there?
No, same costing at the race. What we did find out afterwards, after everything had all quietened down, one of the other guys from the teams, he goes, "I've got some second-hand ones, half price. Do you want them?" And I looked at them, I went, "These are in better condition than the wishbones I had on the car originally. I'll take them."
Yeah.
Fantastic. Half price, and I've upgraded my car essentially.
Exactly, yeah.
So yeah, we got those, but it was the end of the weekend.
Yeah.
So final race of the season, we thought, well, we learnt a lot. I finished 4th in the championship that year. I actually went into that final round in contention for the championship.
And sorry, what year is this?
This was 2021.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, I did 4 races. One of them was a V8 supercar support round. This is just after the second lockdown ended.
Yeah.
And they did the 4 weeks in a row of supercars at Eastern Creek, which I have to say that must have gotten so tedious for them.
Yeah,
but
sure.
we were on the support card for one of those weekends, and I ended up getting a podium in the wet. In a field of probably 30 plus cars, national drivers. It was like getting that podium, I think, was really what cemented me as like a real contender in the Formula Ford series. Yeah. Didn't really have the budget to go to a proper national round. Yeah. But whenever they come to Eastern Creek, we're sort of there or thereabouts, just inside the top 10. So that was the first year. Second year, you know, we turned up to round 1. I think we podiumed every race, so 3 races per round. So the race weekend has 3 races. We got a second, 2 thirds.
How are those 3 races? Is it Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
So Friday is official practice. Saturday is qualifying and race 1, and then races 2 and 3 on the Sunday. Okay. So qualifying, I think it might have been dry and then started raining just as we went out. So everyone was all jumbled up. I think I qualified 3rd. Yeah. For that, off the start, got into 2nd, and sat behind what would have been the national champion at the time, but he ended up going to race in Europe for the last round, I think it was. In Formula Ford? No, he went and raced in Formula 4, British Formula 4. Okay. Wow. So he's over in Europe, I think. Still there? I think so, yeah. I'm not quite sure what his plans are this year, but I know last year at the end he sort of did like a couple of rounds of... hang on, I'm getting my dates mixed up here. It was 2022, and then 2023 he was in England racing in Formula 4. Wow. So he won a couple of times, did really well. So it makes me look better. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so he won that the whole weekend. But that was only a state round. Yeah. We then went to Wakefield. Again, it was just pissing down with rain. And we were struggling for some reason. We thought, well, normally in wet weather we're pretty decent. But I wanted the win, and I was chasing down this guy in his car all weekend. And I think race 2 was probably one of my best races. I stalled off the start, dropped to last in the field, and by the end of lap 2, I was back almost into the podium positions. Wow. Half the overtakes I did were around the outside of cars in the wet, which is how you're supposed to do it, but it still felt pretty good. Yeah. Had the fastest lap, was closing him down for the lead, and then the safety car came out, and we finished like that.
Wow.
So finished second, first. Probably should have won that race. Smallest of mistakes, stalled it. So what can you do? Race 3, started second, got a blinding start, clear into the lead, and we battled. I think we were battling in the wet, and even though we were sort of, crossing each other up a little bit, we were probably 3 seconds quicker than the next fastest car on track in the wet. So we were gone.
Yeah.
But where I finally realized there was a problem with the car was when I exited the final corner. I got brilliant exit, came down into turn 1 at Wakefield, the little kink to the right, braked as late as possible. He braked later.
Yeah.
Saw him in my rearview mirrors, completely sideways, out of control. I went, he's going to crash. Like, if I don't get off the racing line, he's going to come into me.
Yeah.
I move over. I'm always going to protect my car.
Of course.
So he arrives at the apex where I would have been if I hadn't moved, manages to straighten the car up, and we both exit the corner like dead on like this.
Yeah.
Neck and neck. And no traction issues, nothing like that. We just both exit, and we're both still neck and neck. And then as I get to the top of second, just before I'm going to change, I start to see him just pull ahead a little bit. I flat shift into third, don't lose any, minimal amounts of RPM have been lost. I look over and he's just he just starts pulling away like that. So short straight from turn 2 to turn 3, and he's gone. And I went, what just happened? So come back in, and my suspicions since starting to race were that there's something wrong with the engine.
Okay.
And at the time, my dad and my friend Lachlan were saying, no, you just got to learn how to drive it better.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Yeah.
And after that weekend, my dad saw and went, well, it's wet. You were on fire. You were fast. And we saw what just happened. And we went, okay, maybe there is something wrong. So we decided, let's send the engine down to get rebuilt.
Yeah. And where do you send that to?
So at the time, it was an engine builder in Victoria.
Okay.
Everyone has to send it to the same guy. Okay. And I think he'd been the builder for the last 11 or 12 years.
Yeah.
And
why does everyone have to send it to the same guy?
Just control. Just keep everything consistent.
Yeah.
He does something a certain way. Just fairer for everyone. He's not cheap.
I bet.
Yeah. But we thought, well, might as well send it down, get it dynoed before, get it dynoed after. And went down. I drove it in my roommate's Suzuki Swift, pulled the engine out, chucked it in the back of his Swift. I drove it from Sydney to Melbourne because I didn't want a freight company to take, if there was a delay, we wouldn't have had it back in time for the next round. So I drove it down personally to make sure it got there, and he could start working on it properly. Yeah. Drove it down, and then while I was down there, I said, hey, can you pull up the records? When was the last time this engine was here? Puts the code into his computer, and he goes, 2010.
Oh, wow.
So, it was 12 years, actually.
Wow.
So I went, okay, this is good news. It might not be me. So I left him and took a couple of months, got the engine back, got the dyno figures before and after, just on a little slip of paper, plotted it into an Excel diagram. And I don't know, actually, I'll show you first, and then we'll see your reaction, because this is just a service.
And
in the car.
How long did that take
to get it rebuilt?
Yeah,
I think it was just under 2 months.
And how much was it, if you don't mind saying?
Including the dynos and everything, it was about 11,000.
Okay.
Yeah. So that includes sealing the engine and So here are the before and afters, just a service. So you've got, there's your torque. Yep. There's the power. And
wow.
Huge difference.
Massive difference.
So for an engine that makes 135 horsepower at the wheels, we picked up in the mid-range alone between 12 and 15 horsepower.
Wow.
And even more torque.
Yeah.
And it also shifted our power curve down a bit, so less RPMs to get to our peak power.
And was it the last time that it's been in the shop?
For the engine, yes. Yeah. So we got that engine back and we went, this is going to be great. We should be able to compete for the wins, for some wins now. So the next round was a national round at Eastern Creek, and we went there.
Sorry, what year was this?
2022.
Okay.
So went to Eastern Creek, so much confidence. I was like, come on, this has got to be it. This has been the issue, the last little piece, those tenths that I'm missing.
In between having the engine at the builders, and getting it back, had you done any racing in between, any practice, any training, anything like that?
I'd done some sim racing.
Okay. Where do you do that?
Just at home,
Okay.
on my sim rig that I built. Yeah, it was probably $1,500 for the actual frame, the wheel, pedals, everything. So that's how I practice. Because I can't afford to go testing as much as I would like in real life.
Of course,
Again, it's not really a direct comparison, but it does help. And
it's an expensive hobby, that's for sure.
Yeah. I don't know why I've done it for so long. I think to me, the reason why I think I've kept at it so long is because I know I've got the ability to be able to do it at a very high level. And I guess sort of just the cost wasn't really a factor. I just wanted to see how far I could take it. Got further than I thought I ever would. But not far enough.
Of course.
Which we'll get to as well after this. But the national round, went there during testing on the Friday.
And is this the first time you've driven it since with the engine back in, or had you done some private testing before?
I did one private test day.
Where at?
Down at Maroolin, so Pheasant Wood, so that driver training track. I think very cheap. I think it was $150 for the whole day.
Wow.
And we were there and we were just shaking it down. And I went, wow, this car feels great. Like, I don't know if it was like a placebo effect, but the engine notes sounded different to me. Jumping back in. Or it just sounded more aggressive. Like it,
I'd like to think so after $11,000.
Anything to justify the price. You know how people try to protect their investment sort of thing. But, from that test day, everything felt great. There were no problems. The car went so well. And we went, okay, cool. Let's go to this race. Testing on the Friday, we were comparing ourselves to the front runners. And we're like, we're on all tires. They're probably on all tires too, but we were like there or thereabouts. Doing high 1 minute 36s on a very hot day, which we thought, this is great. Like, new tires can sometimes get you 1.5 to 2 seconds. So we thought, we're there. We qualify. I think I qualified 11th on the one lap that I actually got. I've never been a great qualifier in the Formula Fords up until very recently. Just something about switching on the tires and just going for it straight off the bat. So we qualified 11th. I thought, okay, cool. I've always been able to move forward in the race.
11th out of how many?
21, 22 cars, I think it was. So we thought, okay, we're basically mid-pack. And off the start, I think I immediately jumped from 11th to 7th.
Wow.
And then after lap 1, everything just fell apart. The car misfired. And it was just so weird. I went, am I out of fuel? Did we not put enough fuel in? It sounded like it didn't have enough. And then it came back, and then it went away again. And, I came into the pits. I said to my dad, it's cutting out. He looked over the car as much as he could, sent me on my way again. Got maybe halfway around, did the same thing again. So we pulled it in and we went, oh, come on. Like, what's going on here? That was race 1. So we had all of the rest of the afternoon, the night, and the next morning to try and figure out what was going on. We had my dad, who is an electrical engineer. We had Chris, who completed his apprenticeship, unlike me. And we had a couple of friends from the racing community, some who work on race cars for a living, including an engineer in training. Just like we had a stacked field of people trying to diagnose what was going on with this car. We figured out that it was electrical. We just weren't sure where it was coming from. We pulled every single wire. We tested every single plug, every connector. We eventually got to the alternator and went, oh, it's not charging. This alternator's not charging the car. Wow. So the alternator runs off the drive shaft. There's a belt that connects from the drive shaft to the alternator. We realized it wasn't charging. So we went, oh, okay, cool. That's an easy fix. We borrowed an alternator from another team, bolted on the alternator, probably at like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And we went, cool, figured out the problem, thank God. Problem solved. Warmed it up in the morning, no problems. It wasn't misfiring, wasn't anything. Went out for race 2, did my warm-up lap. As I came to line up in my grid spot, car died. So I'm sitting on the grid. I've got all these cars behind me. in the Kent class, so I'm at the back of the field of Durotex. All the Kents are still lining up. I'm looking at my mirrors frantically trying to start the car. Doesn't crank over. And the 5-second board comes out to signal that the race is going to start. And at this point, there's Kents right behind me, and I'm not going anywhere. So I'm like waving my hands, trying to, tell everyone that my car's done.
Yeah.
Everyone starts. They come grab me. As they put a toe strap and start pulling me along, I try to start it up again, like just trying anything. It fires up, and I sort of potter around back into the pit lane, and I try to rejoin the race because the car was working.
Yeah.
I went out, did the same thing again. I'm like, what is going on? Pull it back in, same thing again, tracing every wire, doing everything we can. And we go, what else did we replace? We replaced the intake position sensor. We checked the ECU main wiring harness. There was I think the actual main cable for all the power in the ECU was loose.
Okay.
So I went, there's another fix we can do. Soldered it, crimped it, whatever, put it back in, made sure it wasn't going anywhere. And we went, we've done everything we can.
Yeah.
We've checked everything. It cannot possibly be anything else. Go out for race 3. Get off to a great start. I make up probably 6 or 7 spots from the back of the grid. Do 2 laps.
Oh, so you're starting last now.
I'm starting last because I've DNF'd every race up until this point.
Yeah.
So I'm straight to the back of the grid. Start. It's going well. I'm like, come on. Surely this is it. And 2 laps in, died again.
Wow.
Again.
That is so frustrating.
So 3 DNFs. I did technically finish race 1, but at the back of the grid, so I did get 1 or 2 points.
Okay.
And at this point, I'm second in the championship. And I was hoping with this new engine build to chase down first. So I was like, this is so crap. Like, I've had some disappointments, but like 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Couldn't even figure out what it was. Still couldn't work it out after the weekend ended. And I think we tried a couple of other things when we got home where we could just take our time going through everything when it wasn't the pressure of a race weekend. Thought we fixed it. I then said to my dad, look, I want to take it for a test day. He couldn't make it, so I went with my roommate. And we both went down. He sort of helped me out with like just getting the car off the trailer and stuff. Went back to Marulan, drove it a few times, died. Still broken. Bring it back into the pits. It was an open pit lane, and I was the only car there. So I was able to, when I was out on track, unbelt myself, toggle some stuff, switch things, reset some things, and then drive it back to the pits. And as I got back to the pits, I left the car running, got out, and I went, this is ridiculous. Like, what else could it possibly be? What it ended up being was a $20 plastic kill switch.
It's always the way. That's hilarious.
And the way we figured it out, the car was running and I went to go switch it off. And just as I went to go turn the kill switch, my friend Alex said, hang on, like, have you checked everything? And as I touched it, when you just briefly touch, and then I took my hand away, but the car died as I touched the kill switch. So I went, what the hell? Went back and fiddled with it again while the car was running, died. I went, what the hell is going on? So I called my dad and he's like, just bypass the kill switch entirely. Like, see if you can like take the main cables and just bridge it across, bypass the kill switch entirely. Once we did that, the car ran perfectly for the rest of the day. Wow.
Do you need a kill switch?
Regulations, you do need a kill switch. So we just bought a new one on the way home. It cost me, I didn't just get the plastic key thing, that little red thing that you use to switch it off. I bought the whole thing. I was like, nah, don't even risk it.
No, of course.
Cost me $50.
Wow.
Put it in. Did not have a single problem after that.
Wow.
Rocked up for the final national round, which was the final state round. Double points. At this point, the guy leading the state championship had gone off to England.
Okay.
So I thought double points. We DNF'd 3 rounds. We could potentially take the championship, depending on where I finished. It was a national round, so I had to finish.
How ahead were you from? You were second, right?
I was second because I DNF'd.
Okay, and how ahead were you from third?
I think I pretty much had third locked up. I just needed to finish the races. That was all I needed to do to secure second. So it was basically all or nothing. And I was 75 points away. I think, no, more. It's closer to 100.
Okay.
Closer to 100 points. Double points where a win is 30 points normally. So it was 60 points for a win. I got to this national round going, I don't think I'm going to win, but I'm
Yeah.
going to get as close as I possibly can. And I qualified 7th, and then I finished 7th in each of the 3
Wow.
races. 7th, 7th, 7th. There was a new problem.
Yeah.
Car was overheating.
Oh no.
Yeah. So again, that's another thing that I've fixed now. But at the time, I think race 1, I was 4th. I got up to 4th place.
Mm-hmm.
And I was literally just stuck onto the back of 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, who were all battling, and I'm stuck in their slipstream. And about 2/3 of the way through the race, the car got too hot. The ECU backs the power off, and I just started dropping back.
Oh no.
So I ended up finishing 7th. And it happened in the other 2 races. It was a stinker of a day. It was like mid-30s.
Wow.
So we ended up finishing 7th. And it was so crushing because in the end, I was 10 points off winning the championship.
Wow.
And in those 3 races that I DNF'd, all I had to have done was finish 15th in each of those 3 races, which I've never done in my whole career. All I had to do was just finish it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was crushing. All for a $20 piece of plastic, you know, like...
But at least
Yeah.
now you know that you have the ability to go forward and to actually, you know,
Yeah.
you have the skill to get there.
Absolutely, yeah. So
This was 2022 season.
yes,
Cool. 2023.
I took a year off Formula Ford.
Okay.
Instead of doing Formula Ford, I did the Bathurst 6 hour
Okay, cool.
in a Golf R.
Wow.
So I should explain, I won a competition the previous year in a Toyota 86 for Bathurst, the Bathurst 6 hour. So that was in D class, fully funded drive. It was a competition meant for race drivers who struggle. They don't have the backing from their parents. They don't have a ton of sponsors, and they've done it tough. And I got sent that link, and I went, oh, that's me. Ended up winning. Went to Bathurst.
What did you have to do to win?
So they picked a short list of 10 people, and then we all went to Marulan and did like a regularity style time trial thing in Mazda 2s.
Oh, wow.
So we had 4 sessions, and each time we went into different cars. We had to nominate a time and just try to do it bang on. I won't really get into the scoring of regularities because it's not something I quite understand myself. All I know is that the lower your score, the better. It's like golf.
Okay.
I had the lowest score out of anyone, so I went through into the top 5 hot lap shootout and ended up, I think it was 2 people from that top 5 would win the whole competition because it was a co-driving situation.
Okay, yeah.
So it was myself and someone from the BMW series. So we both won that hot lap shootout. Went to Bathurst and drove this, what I would like to say, a bog stock Toyota 86.
They're not very fast.
They're not very
They're
fast.
not at all.
I think down Conrod, we're talking
Yeah.
V8 supercars do 290. This would probably do 235, 240. The Formula Fords hit 240 to 250.
Yeah.
This 86 was barely getting over 200. It was ridiculous. But we finished 6th in class out of 10, 11 cars, which I thought was pretty good. First time at Bathurst.
Yeah.
My times were super consistent, miles quicker than the other 2 drivers, which was a positive for me. And against other 86s in the class, which had built engines, we were like battling with them when I was in the car, which was great. I was like, this is fantastic. Finished that race and I went, I want to go back. I got to get back to
Yeah, of
Bathurst.
course.
So I managed to organise a drive with a Golf R with Harding Performance. So they're based up in Queensland.
Yeah, I've bought stuff off them before. They're
Oh,
excellent.
have you? Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
Guy's a great guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know him, that's great.
Yeah,
so,
no, great.
So
Yeah,
I,
he's a great guy.
so I raced for that team. And yeah, did one shakedown at Queensland Raceway, and then the next time I drove the car was at Bathurst.
And is this stock Golf R?
No, it's got some pretty nifty bits on it.
Okay.
Some really nice suspension, some ducting for the brakes. I think it's got a tune on it as well. Straight piped. That's about all I think that I know of. But yeah, this Golf R really probably should have been in B class.
Yeah.
power-wise, we were making as much as the top of B class.
Sorry, you were in D, right?
So D was 86s.
Okay, yep.
This car was in A1. So the classes in the Bathurst 6 Hour, you got X, A1, which is forced induction, high performance, and then A2, which is high performance naturally aspirated. So like your 6-litre V8 Commodores, Lexus 5-litre V8s for A2. A1 had like A45 AMGs.
Should we try some of those?
I think so, yeah.
I
Let's get
have
into
no
it.
idea what this is. I also have no knives, so
Yeah.
I guess this is like a back of the fork situation.
Yeah. Also, let me know if I'm speaking too fast.
No, you're
I'm just
totally
trying to. I'm just
fine. No.
getting through all the stuff.
Oh, that's a lot softer than I thought it was.
Oh yeah, I thought it was.
Oh, I thought that was going to be hard. Interesting.
All right.
I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe dig into your. Oh. Okay. That's.
I was just gonna. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
Just dig
do
in.
this.
Yeah.
Why not? What we got? Oh, that's a chunk.
Oh my god. Oh wow.
I'm a fan of that.
Yeah. That's outstanding.
Yeah.
Oh, that's outstanding.
You need to find out what that is.
Yeah, I know. It's not on the receipt.
Is that like a coffee? A bit of a coffee flavour to it.
It tastes like a Biscoff sort of thing. But I ordered 2 of these, 1 Nutella, 1 Biscoff.
So we essentially got Biscoff anyway.
We got Biscoff, yeah, because that looks like Biscoff. The that cookie there, that little.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Maybe the bottom is Biscoff. Oh my god, it was outstanding.
Yeah.
I'm going to interrupt you though. What's your favorite carb?
Carb. You know what? I love all carbs.
Yeah. Sweet or savory?
Savory. Absolutely savory.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Why?
I can eat more of it
Fair enough.
without feeling guilty about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I've struggled a lot with my weight just from loving food so much. Like I exercise quite a lot, but I also match that with a lot of carbs.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a love-hate relationship. I would
for
say.
sure.
But
Yeah.
favorite carb? Oh man, probably just a really good pizza. I would say.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can't like. Yeah, it's I have eaten at my worst or best, depends on your perspective.
We'll go best.
2 large pizzas, 13-inch pizzas.
In one sitting.
In one sitting.
Oh, excellent. That's outstanding. We had on the last episode. It was also an evening episode. Usually I do them in the morning on the weekend, and I had pizzas delivered after work, literally 2 streets away. But I was setting up, so I thought I'll have it delivered. The pizza place 2 streets away. The boxes obviously had been dropped, so the pizzas were like mush. And like we opened them up mid podcast, and I'm like, oh fuck! I'm like, this is going to be an absolute mess. And the cheese was everywhere, and it was just like mushed all to the one side. Still excellent and still delicious, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, it was a little disappointing. So pizza's your favorite?
Pizza, yeah, I would say, yeah.
Favorite sweet carb,
Sweet
or
carb.
any dessert?
Ooh. Man, you really put it on the spot. I wasn't expecting to say what my favorite. I don't even know, to be honest. Like, man,
This was delicious as well.
that's good. I need to get into mine a bit more.
Yeah.
Probably a really good cheesecake.
Oh, I do love good cheesecake.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, cheesecake's outstanding. Interesting.
Something with passion fruit. I don't know. I'm a big fan
Oh,
of
yeah.
passion fruit.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. It's a weird one, but
No, not opposed. That yeah, passion fruit's delicious.
yeah.
I can't get over how good that was.
Yeah, no, I'm going to finish this whole row.
Yeah,
I'm done with it.
gonna stop myself from going for a second row.
Pace yourself.
Yeah, you have to.
But
okay,
yeah.
where were we?
Class hierarchy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Then you got B1, B2, same thing as A1, A2. So high performance turbo, or like just performance turbos, and then naturally aspirated. And then you got C, which is like Volkswagen Scirocco's and Holden Astra HSVs. D class is like Volkswagen Polos, Toyota 86s, I think Pulsars, I think used to be on there. And then E class is like compact Mazda 323s or Mazda 3s, Suzuki Swifts, things like that. So in the A1 class, I don't know if you know much about it was Mark 7.5 Golf. So we're going up against A45 AMGs. Mitsubishi Evos, WRXs, or with the boost turned up,
Yeah.
we're allowed to run basically factory boost on our car. So horsepower-wise, we are down a lot, especially compared to that 845.
Why can you only run factory boost compared to the rest?
I think it was just the balance of power
Okay.
that they set up in the regulations. Might have something to do where it was originally a B1 car, and then it got bumped up into A1. I couldn't tell you. I was just there to drive it.
Yeah.
But I was told that, you know, we are in A1 and we are at like the bottom of A1
Wow.
in terms of power.
Yeah.
And around Bathurst, power is
Of course.
so important.
Yeah.
Especially when everyone's on the same tyre. The only advantage we had was a fantastic all-wheel drive system. So if it rained, they were telling me like we're quickest
You've
on
got
track
it.
outright.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
you know, you're quicker than the X-Class cars, the
Yeah.
M4s, you know, the C63 AMGs, everything at the top.
They're all so tail happy as well.
Yeah.
All of those rear-wheel drive cars, all
Yeah.
of the M cars, all the C63s in the
Yeah.
wet, they're not drivable at
Yeah.
all. We get a lot of that stuff through the shop.
Yeah.
And as soon as it starts raining, like we won't road test them.
Really?
It's
It's
just
too
not
dangerous?
drivable. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's too dangerous.
Especially the tyres that we run in the 6 hour. I'm just trying to remember what they're called. They're so terrible. They're an Indian tyre. MRFs.
Okay.
I got my first experience with MRFs when I drove up with one of the drivers of the car, Jem. We drove up to Queensland to go test the car.
Yep.
He had MRFs on his Golf. They'd come off...
Golf R as well.
I think just a Golf GTI.
Okay.
So very stock standard, just had the MRFs. They were the same tyres that he'd run on the 6 hour the year before.
Yeah.
It was just like, they're so hard they can do a whole 6 hour.
Yeah. Wow.
Chucked them on his Golf. And we're driving up past Gosford. It was raining, not super heavy. There wasn't any like standing water on the road. But you know, as you come down the hill, you go over the bridge and then you got the Gosford exit as you go up the hill.
Yep.
We went up that hill and I was driving at the time. I'm doing 110 and I just accelerate a little bit to go up the hill and the whole car just starts
spinning. Yeah.
spinning all the way up the hill at 110. I'm like, what are these tires? And the guy goes, yeah.
Floor racing.
Well, not even that. He goes, they're like that new as well.
Wow.
They were absolutely shocking in the wet. Like, it rained on and off on our trip up there, and both of us, as we're driving, like, we're both race drivers. Like,
Yeah.
we've got car control. We're just like, you know, moving the car across the road, trying to keep it under control. It just went everywhere.
Wow.
So, shocking tire, but everyone's got them. So, yeah, so we're at the bottom of A1. So we thought, well, if we get our strategy right, we could be up there.
Yeah. Golf
And-
R's a great car.
Oh, fantastic car to drive.
Yeah.
We had the support of Bendix and iBark
Yeah.
for the weekend. You know, they were there. We couldn't stop talking about how good the brakes were. A lot of cars at the 6 hour have to change their discs and pads midway through the race.
Yeah.
But we managed to do the whole race while leaning on the brakes as hard as we possibly could. Did the whole race on a set. Had some enduro pads, everything. It was fantastic. So we ended up finishing on the lead lap out of 62 or 60 to 62 cars. Can't remember the exact number. 60 something cars. We finished 11th outright and we finished third in class.
Wow.
And I think we had the most cars out of any class as well. It was most in class. We were fourth on the second last racing lap. We had just lost the podium to a WRX. And I remember watching the CCTV in the pit garage going, that's it, it's done.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever heard the saying, it's like, it's not over.
Until it's over.
Until it's over.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Never has it been more true. Because we're not going to get this place back. He's got so much power, this WRX down the straight. All we can do is sit behind him. So the guy in the car at the time, he follows him down Conrod, comes back up the mountain. He's right on his tail. He's pressuring him the whole way through. All the WRX has to do is just drive his line because we're not passing at the top. We get to Forest Elbow and I look at the CCTV. It's not on the broadcast.
Yeah.
And all I see is the WRX go straight on into the wall. He outbraked himself.
Oh, shit.
Into the wall. We're back in third. Again, he didn't... I don't know...
Was he all right?
He was fine. Completely fine.
Car?
It wasn't great.
Okay.
I think it DNF'd. It didn't finish. But what I don't understand is he had probably the best part of 50 horsepower on us.
Yeah.
Probably. all he had to do was just keep us behind him out of that corner. We're not going to make a pass through there.
Yeah.
Even if we had passed him, he would have repassed us down the straight. And that would have been it. So, and then 20 seconds later, a Mustang spun and hit the wall at the start-finish line.
As they do.
As they do.
Yeah.
He was looking for crowds, right?
Yeah, of course. In typical Mustang fashion.
Yeah. And that brought out the safety car. And we finished like that.
Wow.
So 20 seconds more, the WRX would have stayed in front. We would have been behind. We would have finished behind them, fourth. So we ended up finishing third. I got to stand on the Bathurst podium. Unreal. Like, we went out there and there were people like chanting my name.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is it. Like, I never thought I'd get to this stage where I was able to stand on the podium, even though it was third. We're still on the podium at Mount Panorama.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
Yeah.
It's iconic.
Yeah. So that was fantastic. And basically that weekend was my whole budget for Formula Ford.
Yeah, and when was that in 2023?
That was the Easter weekend.
Okay.
So
like a year ago.
Almost. Yeah, almost a year ago now. So yeah, I was trying to get it again this year, but I thought it's too much money.
Yeah. What does that cost? So you won that, right?
The 86 I did.
Oh, okay. You won 86.
The Golf I paid for.
What does the Golf cost?
I don't really want to say because they did do a very good deal for me.
That's fair enough. No, that's totally fair enough.
But I do know that the M4 drives can cost anywhere between 30 and 60,000.
Wow. Because we had a guest, Lucky Donahue, 2 episodes ago, and he has a workshop in I think Northern Beaches, Bromspec, and he's won the 6 hour, I believe 3 times now. Once in an M4, twice in an M2. The other way around, sorry. Twice in an M4, once in an M2. The last
one that's just gone?
I believe so. Maybe the one before. And then the 2 previous to that.
The 86 one, I think that was CHE.
Okay.
That won that. I'm guessing. Does Jada run with them? Because he won last year, I'm pretty sure.
I'm very sure. Yeah, he doesn't race. He's just a mechanic for them.
He's just a mechanic.
Yeah,
I'm fairly sure that's the car I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
M4s make sense. Like BMW's a king around there.
Oh, for sure.
You're not winning unless you're in that BMW. Yeah. I think I know the car. But
so he works on that team. I'm very sure it's Jada, but I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm also not
Jaden and Simon Hodges.
Okay. Anyway, yeah. So he he has a workshop in Northern Beaches, and they do a lot of that work.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting race. And so then, what have you been doing from then till now?
From then till now, I've been doing some go-karting enduros. So twin engine Honda generator motors strapped to an endurance cart.
Yep.
We do 6, 8, 12 hours, 14 hours.
Wow.
With myself and 2 other drivers.
Whereabouts?
All over New South Wales. So I joined midway through the season. I did one at Canberra. Did Newcastle, Taree, Coffs, Port Macquarie, and Lithgow.
Wow.
That was a great time. I've done a bit of that endurance karting before, just in like an older style kart. For people that know about karting, chassis, you don't tend to use old ones really, because they start to lose their stiffness, rigidity. They start to flex a bit more, and you start cracking where the welds are and things like that. It's not a pretty time. So I was able to join up with a team called Polaris Marine with a fairly new kart, maybe a couple of years old. Yeah. So fast. I think the 2 times I qualified the kart, I think, how many races did I do with them? I did 3 races, I think. Yeah, 3 races, including 1 extra race at Coffs Harbour where I was driving for another team. Yep. The kart broke down, and then I sort of cheekily got a little bit of a stint with that team. Yeah. Because I wanted to see what it was like to drive a nice kart. Got in quickest on the track and went, can I join up with you guys? So he's like, yeah, of course, man. Like, we've seen you drive. Like, come race with us. Took it to, what was the next race? I think it was Taree. It was either Taree or Port Macquarie. And first time at Taree, track record in the kart. Yeah. Lap record in the race. We didn't end up winning. I think we stripped a sprocket while battling for the lead. Yeah. It was a 14-hour race. With an hour to go, we stripped a sprocket on one of the engines, completely clean through. Yeah. and we ended up finishing like 7th or 8th or something like
Yeah.
that. So that was a bit shit.
I bet.
If you excuse the language.
No,
because it
sorry,
was.
it's much too much. Yeah.
And then went to Port Macquarie, went to Newcastle. Newcastle was a bit of a bust.
Mm-hmm.
The cart just wasn't running right. And then we went to went to Lithgow, and again track record in that series again, battling for the lead, and I think there was a bit of a miscommunication in the pits for the last pit stop.
Mm-hmm.
Drove past the fuel bay when we were supposed to get fuel. We had to stop, push it back, lost some precious seconds.
Oh shit.
Ended up coming out. I think I came out in a safety car train, and I was second, but I was about 20 seconds behind first.
Wow.
With about 10 carts between me and him, like
Mm-hmm.
lapped carts.
Mm-hmm.
Went green. There was 15 minutes of the race left, and I just picked them off one by one, trying to chase this guy down. He had clear track. He was pretty much at the front.
Yeah.
So he's streaking away. As I'm passing the carts, I'm like matching his pace, working through the traffic. And I think in 15 to 20 minutes of racing remaining, I closed down those 20 seconds.
Wow.
And we ended up finishing 1.6 seconds behind him.
So close.
I was so close.
Far out.
So I was like, no. Well, we got second, so we'll take that. So it was okay. So I'm planning on doing that again this year, just to keep like racing fresh. There's only 5 rounds in Formula Ford, so this is like good to keep your racecraft going.
And what's the future plan
Future plan?
for racing?
Unfortunately, nothing.
Okay.
I've run out of money. It's we've thrown pretty much everything we possibly can at the Formula Ford this year.
Yeah.
Just to give it everything we've got and see where we end up. We've finally replaced the radiators.
Yeah.
Which were the cause of our overheating, we think. There was just not enough flow through the old ones.
Yeah.
We don't think they've been replaced for the entire life cycle of the car. So we got new radiators. We realized that the suspension wasn't fantastic. I think my dad noticed. He did like a test on it. I don't know what prompted him to do this, but he turned the rebound up on the suspension all the way to max. And then he pressed down on the car, and it immediately sprung back up.
Wow.
So we went, well, that's not meant to do that.
No, of course not.
No,
yeah.
it's meant to slowly rise up.
Yeah.
So we realized based off of that, every time I'd go to brake into a corner where you would expect the car to keep some of that weight over the front end to get the grip on the front, and also keep the weight off the rear to get it to rotate, it wasn't doing
Popping
that
back up,
this whole time. And because I've only ever driven that one car, it never occurred to me that maybe it wasn't meant to do that. Or it was just my driving style or something else was wrong. So when he said that, he goes, can you see if you can get them rebuilt? Sent them off. The guy I sent them to, Racing Shocks Australia down in Victoria. Honestly, dealing with him was so easy, and it's so fairly priced. I think I paid under $2,000 to service all 4 external reservoir Öhlins shocks. Like, really great job from him. So I can't recommend him enough.
Yeah.
He dynoed them before and after. He tested my springs for variances, did a full service. He was very transparent about what they needed as well. I think there was some damage internally that he had to replace some of like the sleeves. So he goes, it's going to cost this much. I went, just do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, got those back. He supplied he basically wrote me like a 3-paragraph email back saying, this is what we've done. This is what was wrong with them. He, the gas pressure was probably a quarter of what it should have been. So he fixed that up. He realized that some of the dials were broken, the rebound and compression. I don't actually know if that's the same thing. I think it's bump and rebound, whatever you want to call it. A few of those dials were broken, so they were doing nothing, even though you're twisting them.
Yep.
There was debris in the oil. The oil had broken down and degraded. The biggest thing, though, was the springs. The springs were not the right spring for that shock. So the inner diameter of the spring was too small to fit over the collar or perch where they sit. So every time you go to corner weight the car, you get it spot on. And as soon as you drive out the pits, the springs would shift because they're not seated properly, and you'd throw all your corner weights out the window.
Yeah, wow.
So he replaced those, and now they sit properly. Took it out to Marulan, tested the radiators at a very short track, not a lot of cooling opportunities there.
Yeah.
I think I've done the most running in one go I've ever done there.
And it was fine.
It got to exactly the operating temperature I want it to go and no higher.
Wow, excellent. That's perfect.
And I could actually rotate it under brakes as well now.
Yeah.
As soon as I did it, I went, oh, this is what it's supposed to do. So that's the only test I've done since 2022. And we think it went really well.
Great.
So, yeah, who knows? I mean, there's a lot more to racing than just that. Like, anything can happen. But I think we're in a position now where we're more well off than we've ever been.
Yeah.
So if anything's going to happen in this season, it's going to be on me, essentially.
And is it something that you would take forward as a career?
It's very hard to make a sole racing career out of just racing. You sort of have to put in some coaching on the side. And I think someone said something to me once that, there's only a handful of people in Australia that actually get paid to race cars for a job. It's very rare. Even in supercars, you bring the money or you don't get paid. So yeah, it'll be tricky. I'm not quite sure what I want to do. I've really gotten into football lately, to soccer. As like a way to stay fit and just keep my mind active and things like that. So that's kind of like almost taken a bit of focus away from the racing a little bit, which I don't really know how to feel. But I mean, I'm still looking for opportunities. If they come, I'll take them. But it's very tricky. Yeah, of course. I wanted to get to Trans Am, so V8 muscle cars over a space frame. Very expensive. Oh man, like easy 6 figures to buy the cars. We were planning on doing that and running it ourselves. We almost had the funding, very close, and then interest rates took a absolute upturn, and it was just not a great time for us, for anyone really. No one really wanted to just give you the money. So
that's unfortunately how it is these days. So I asked all my guests this. You pick 5 cars.
5 cars.
Unlimited budget. Unlimited sort of, there's no boundaries in terms of what's legal or illegal here. Dream Garage. What is it?
Dream Garage. That one, number 1.
Nice. I love a guest that has one of 5 already. I must be honest, I think every guest I've had so far, the car they brought is in their top 5.
Is in their top 5? Yeah. It's a good way of doing it.
We had
you have to.
E46 M3 first episode.
Ooh, yeah.
Shit, it was episode 2. No, I forgot. Porsche 912, M135, S2000.
Can we go race cars as well?
You can do whatever you want.
Whatever I want.
No budget.
All right, so we've got the S2000. Got the Lexus LFA. We've got...
Both in white?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I reckon so. Porsche GT3 RS. I was going to say GT2, but I kind of like the naturally aspirated go of a GT3. Either in a lime green or an orange.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
Man, what have I got? 2 left. Got to make these count, don't I?
Yeah, you do, yeah.
I think we've got to throw a race car in there. Something that... just pure drive. I reckon it would have to be an early F1 car.
Oh, okay.
Not early, but...
Yeah. How early are we talking here?
Ayrton Senna's 1991 McLaren.
Okay.
With the V10 Honda. And a 6-speed manual.
Okay. Excellent. That's 4.
That's 4. And the 5th... Ooh. I think you got to have a daily driver in here.
Sure.
Yeah. But what daily driver?
That is the question.
Yeah, it is. Might have to go with a BMW.
Okay.
Yeah. Quite like an M2.
Beautiful. One of my favorite cars they've ever done.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Not the new one, though.
Not such a fan of the new one, I was just about to say.
Yeah.
I like a 2017, 2018 competition.
Yeah.
Perfect.
They're actually very cheap now.
They relatively they are.
Relatively now, yeah. Absolutely. I think 60, 70 grand you can pick one up for.
It's a lot of car for that. A lot of car.
Yeah. After seeing one at the 6 hour as well, win it like with ease. I think they got disqualified.
Wow.
And started from the back of the grid and they came through and won the whole thing.
Wow.
So,
Far out.
but yeah,
That's
there you go. Five cars.
There you go.
What are your 5 cars if you haven't already said it on the podcast?
I think I said it in episode 1, but I obviously, it was a while ago. I obviously can't remember what they were, so I don't even know if it's going to be the same. But
Yeah.
I'd go Ferrari 488 Pista. I'd go Audi RS6
Yep.
Classic.
Wagon.
Wagon, yeah. Only
Yep.
comes in a wagon. Yeah, the new one, not the V10 sedan.
Yep.
Like a C8 RS6. Have to go like a Bugatti Chiron or something.
Oh.
Yeah, just something ridiculous like that.
I mean, you said no budget, so
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I should have said an RS6. Actually, they're very nice.
Very nice.
Yeah.
It's tough. I'd probably go like a McLaren 720S.
That's a lot of car.
It's a lot of car. And maybe as like I already have something sort of daily driver-ish, but maybe something a little more convenient, probably like a Lamborghini Urus.
SUV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of somewhat,
Yeah.
drivable for daily use.
All European cars.
Yeah, all Euro. I don't know if there's anything. Maybe like an R34 Skyline GTR.
I'm not sure I'd want to own one. I'd love to drive one.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'd want to own one. It's weird.
yeah. I don't know. Either that, maybe an R35. I don't know if there's anything else. Japanese, I'd go.
Yeah.
Maybe like a Dodge Demon if it was going to be something American. They are outstanding. I've kind of gone to like 8 cars now. So
Yeah, you have. Yeah.
I've broken my own rule.
Hey, it's your podcast.
Yeah,
You do
exactly. I can do
whatever
whatever I
you
want. Yeah, for sure.
So-
But yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
It was a very interesting conversation.
Thank
I
you
wish
very
you
much.
all the best of luck for your racing career, and best of luck for the 2024 season.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a lovely night. See
You
you
too,
later.
man. See ya.